some stops and goals as we began this committee this year. And definitely everyone has been busy, to no excuse, but everyone has been busy. So I just want to make sure that we all know kind of, or have a general idea of what this committee is about, and then how we can actually fulfill that thought process or that mission as we move forward. So again, if anybody has anything to say, jump on, share it. If not, we can definitely jump right into um, the actual agenda. Okay. Well, if you could, Latifa, can you pull up
Mhm.
the annual plan for me?
Yes, 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 yes. I actually have it ready
Oh,
versus
good, good.
the last meeting, Jim. Thank you. Um, should we start annual plan or routine? Or sorry, state plan
Uh,
or routine?
the let's start with the what our strategic partnerships piece is.
Okay. I am going to also, because I'm sure folks want to probably look at this maybe on their own. So I'm going to put this into the chat too. But here we go. And let me know if it's too big, too small, but also putting it into the chat right now.
I think it's good for me.
And also, Andre, if I could just before we move
Yeah.
to this part, to answer, not to answer, but to, from Volunteer Tennessee staff, I think it would just be really helpful to hear from you all on what your understanding is of this group, so that way we can know what resources you need, like what direction we're supposed to support on. That would just be extremely helpful. So I know that was like a question today, so maybe you have to think on it some more and uh, share at the next meeting, but that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So I think each of you all have probably seen this again multiple times. And so we have kind of our committee input. We also have our interventions or our activities, and then our outputs. And so where we've landed, and I think this actually has been approved, is kind of where our what's are. Okay. And she's just dropped that in the chat for everyone. So I'll just read through a couple of things, and then we can just kind of talk through it. If y'all have any questions about it, you definitely can add anything into it. And if I do fall asleep on the call, please forgive me. I've had back-to-back meetings all day, no lunch, and I hope I'm saying all my words correctly. So here we
Hmm.
go. So we would like to schedule our quarterly meetings, and so we have not been able to do that successfully just of yet, because again, everybody's schedules are busy. But what I do want to know is if Latifa sends out a doodle poll for the remainder of this calendar year, and then I think the beginning of the next calendar year around January through February, would that be the best way to get a consensus from everyone? Or are there dates that you definitely are just off limits, so we don't need to add that at all?
I mean, we can always schedule ahead, but honestly, with my position, I have to be kind of flexible at the last minute to
Yeah,
take calls. So, I mean, you can plan ahead, but I can't guarantee that means I'd actually still be able to do the call.
got it, got it. No, and I hear you. So maybe we do what we're trying to schedule is as between me, Latifa, and Nancy, who is our co-chair, is to have a meeting prior to our each, I guess, each month meeting, maybe, or each bi-monthly meeting. So we can at least schedule for the next two meetings, if that makes sense. And so if you can make it, you'll get a doodle poll to try to decide what day or time you can meet. If not, then we'll try to make it as best as possible for everyone, but then at some point at least try to share out some notes from that previous meeting, so you can at least still be prepared or understand what are the action steps moving forward. So as of right now, we'll try to plan out 2 months at a time, but understanding that people's schedules may have to be flexible or may change. um, one of the things that I've asked is that as far as resources for our committee, again, because we all are pretty busy, is really making sure that we can find a way to to have tasks that are kind of assigned so we can work on those things outside of actual meeting times. So I think that would be helpful. I know for me to know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, even if I can't make a meeting, I can at least get that deliverable done. So again, Latifa or whoever our committee representative is going to be from the staff, and Nancy and I will try to work on that as we decide each meeting who wants to do what. We'll try to get that back out to you so you can work on it. Number two, I'm trying to see if some of those things that are just highlighted items that we need to work on. Um, so, as a strategic partnership committee, one of our goals, or a number of our goals, but I'll say one of our goals right now, is to find or to secure um, contacts of sponsors, primarily for the Volunteer Tendency Conference and the governor, the GSVA or GVSA, or the awards program. I'm sorry. And so at this point, we have a listing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, of like corporate social purpose network people that we have starting and working through that process. But we also want to see if we can find additional contacts that can help sponsor that particular two events. And so if you all have, and I think this will be one of our one of the goals that we have, and we as an activity for each of us. And you see here it says, well, no, that says invite sponsors. We want at least 1 to 2 contacts or 1 to 2 people or organizations, corporations that you all think would be great sponsors for our conference. I don't know if each of you have gone to a conference before or been a part of a conference, but generally we have about 200 to around 200 or so individuals who are volunteer managers, AmeriCorps leaders in attendance. And so we want to continue to have this event each and every year because we know that it is building the capacity of those volunteer managers who are in turn supporting the volunteers that are being generated across the state. And so to that end, we want to make sure that we have a great event. We want the hospitality, we want the hotel, we want all the things that would make this a successful event. And so what we're asking is that each of you all provide us with at least 2. If it's more than 2, that's amazing. But at least 2 contacts that we can reach out to. And that would be really between Jim, Latifa, and the chairs to make those asks, unless there's like a personal relationship with one of those corporate sponsors. And then we would make sure that we would potentially include you all in that. And Latifa, I see your hand is raised.
Thanks, Andrea. I was just going to ask, like, or suggest maybe just at least for our organization purposes or organizational purposes, maybe we track it in an Excel spreadsheet, or whatever it is. It's a fairly small group, but it could be easier for you all to just like pop it into an Excel spreadsheet. Obviously up to you, but that could be nice for us.
No, that'd be great. So, should I create that Excel sheet or
No, I can do that.
Okay. If you can, if you create that, then and send that out to us with the notes from this meeting, then everybody can just drop their 2 in there, and maybe create a note section for just, I know this person from ABC area, or I think they would really be helpful in sponsoring this because their philanthropic goals are. And so we can definitely know the best way to approach that particular sponsor. And then also maybe list in there, if we can name drop, we can say, hey, Kim gave us your name. And so we're reaching out. And then Latifa, I see you have your hand raised.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do.
It would be awesome. And I know everyone is really busy, but it would be awesome if, in addition to identifying that contact, I could put together a template, like, and then everyone has access to the template, and then you send it out to that person, and then we then follow up, do like the follow-up action. But if you like do that introduction or connection, even if you don't know them and that's your recommendation, that would be extremely helpful.
Great. Perfect. So we got two ways to do it. We could drop it into the Excel sheet. And then we have the second way that if once you've dropped it into the Excel sheet, so we can just keep track of everybody. Latifa's graciously going to give us a template that we can share out to kind of get everybody open in understanding why we're making this ask, and it's not a cold ask. And then we can make that, we can then follow up as staff people and as well as the staff can follow up. So how does that sound to everybody? Awesome. So at least 2 contacts, and then the other part of that responsibility is for you all to send out this template email that Latifa will share. And so our goal is to try to have that by have the list and the initial, I guess, reach out by December. So so Latifa, when you send those notes, just give us like your timeline for well, I guess you'll give us a template within that email, and then within the next maybe week or two, if you all can send that initial email out to introduce Latifa and Jim for that ask to then come with hopefully within the next couple of days as well. And then we can potentially, I would say, maybe confirm some sponsors or work to confirm sponsors between December and with the conference being in February. We would love to have that done sooner than later.
For my understanding, Andrea, is the group deciding that you all will confirm these sponsors?
No,
Sorry, I missed that.
no. They're gonna just reach out to everybody, and we'll do the, I guess, the follow back up if there's any need for follow up. If they get that initial email and they say, hey, we want to be a sponsor, then it's just a regular follow up on y'all's end. But if it is, I would like an additional phone call or conversation, staff would do that additional follow up. And my goal is to have a number of sponsors secured by December, but knowing that we also will have to try to get some confirmed in January as well. But no later than when will be like the deadline for all sponsors to be placed on any marketing materials?
That's a Hope question, and I'll follow up and ask her.
Okay. So then that would be, we would want to have them before that date. Okay. And we do have a sponsorship packet. So when you send out that template, Latifa, can you share that sponsorship packet?
Yeah, I can do that. Sponsorship packet. That was actually going to be the next thing I was thinking.
Okay.
I'm very much out of the lane. Like this is a Candace and Hope's arena.
Yes.
Sponsorship package. Yeah. So just to confirm.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm. So I'm going to create this Excel spreadsheet and create a template for committee members to do that initial reach out. And then Volunteer Tennessee will have to talk back to, like what our process will be, but we'll be the ones following up. And then in addition to sending all those links, which I'm going to put into a OneDrive folder. So thank you, Katie, for sharing your email that you prefer us to use. If I don't have that email you prefer us to use, definitely throw it into the chat so that way we have the appropriate thing linked to the OneDrive. But I'll put all of that into the OneDrive, including the sponsorship package. And Andrea, your hope is to have these sponsors locked in a certain number by December. What was that number that you referenced?
So well, without having seen like in recent history, like the sponsorship ask that we want, I can't say, but I would say if the event's in February I would hope 50% of the sponsorships that we need by December, or at least, well, let's see, what is this month? September?
Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah, maybe 50% by November.
Okay, so I guess,
and we can revise that once I see what the numbers are.
Got you. I will inquire with Candace and Hope to see what their target is, and then
And I see here it says set up for Survey Monkey and commissioners. So yeah, so I don't we did not do the Survey Monkey, but if we do the Excel sheet like you were saying, Latifa, I think that might get a quicker response. Okay. And we did have an ask out for what were some of the previous sponsors, but I think we can just cross check that if you all already have like past sponsors. We are looking for new partners so we can just cultivate and move forward. So let's focus on whatever sponsor you have. You'll submit that into that Excel spreadsheet. The team will cross check it. So if you send FedEx and we already have FedEx on the list, that's fine. But we hope that of the two that you send, one would be a newer person or a newer ask for us to try to generate some additional support. All right. If we can scroll down just a little bit.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I completely
No
forgot
problem, no
that.
problem. You're working on 2 or 3 different things. So as far as the video, we were being very aggressive in our thoughts of what we could get accomplished and what we could do. I think we still can do this. So what I know nobody wants to volunteer, but I'm going to put it out there and we'll see what happens. Who would
I have
like
a
to
question
volunteer? Yes.
before we move off of the
Yeah,
sponsorship discussion.
yes. I'm
I
sorry.
just
Yeah.
no, that's all right. I'm my brain's working slow today too. There's too many things going on. But I just wanted to ask what's probably the obvious question, but it's not obvious if nobody says it out loud. How does the newly formed corporate CSR group fit into sponsorship expectations? I mean, the
So
same reason that I recommended groups that I thought would be a great part of that would be the same thought process. That's why I would recommend them to sponsor. So are they off limits? Have they already been asked? Are they at the top of the ask list? Like what's the status there?
so Jim, can you answer that question? I would say we can ask
Yeah.
them, but I want to make sure that we're
Yeah, well, so I think we have to look at the corporate social purpose as building long-term relationships to support them in their work to be more engaged in their communities. And we want to be careful not to essentially chase people off by asking them for money. So we don't want to do the bait and switch where we say, hey, come be part of this statewide network. Oh, and by the way, give us a bunch of money. That's not the purpose of the social purpose corporate social purpose network. It really is to try and get the business community more engaged in communities, and for us to just kind of provide them with the platform and the support to do that. Now, I think that naturally some of those folks who are part of that network will see value in what we're doing and the things that, the conference and other, GBSA and other things that we do, and will naturally want to sponsor what we do. But I think we just have to be really careful about essentially killing that network while it's still budding by looking at them as fundraising opportunities, if that makes sense, because we really want to get that network established just for its own sake, really. And then if it makes sense for them to donate, and again, I think that there will be some natural, and some of them have already, Sylvamo has already given us some funding for the past conference in GBSA. Through our work with them. So I don't know if that makes sense, if I articulated it very well, but I think we have to just be careful about chasing people away by too quickly turning to them to give us money.
And to add on to that, so the Corporate Social Purpose Executive Committee is working on, and I think it's on the agenda to talk about this, and maybe it should have been like integrated in between, but they are working on documents, like we're having conversations to assess like how to reach out to folks. That has been a part of what they've discussed, is reaching out to folks for like just engagement, and then also like for joining the corporate, for joining the network, and joining the actual conference, but also putting a small piece in there about sponsorship, part A. And then part B, there is a corporate social purpose track working group. Melanie and I met yesterday, and something that we're also doing is putting together like a document, or anyways, like some type of communication that when we're reaching out to people for different levels of engagement and partnership, that is listed as one of them. So that's definitely something that's been on the executive committee's radar. And but what Jim has just said has definitely been communicated throughout, like by some of our partners, like making sure that we do not like do that at the beginning stages.
So we'll abide by that. So then I think additional sponsors that are outside of that will be the ones that we want to reach out to initially or first, and go from there. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Latifah, for that. And also thank you, Kim, for asking that question. I would rather they answer it than me, because I'm a development person. I ask everybody. I even ask my mother, and she sometimes says yes.
I did forget one thing, Andrea. That's funny,
Yeah.
because whenever I do stuff, I also go to my parents first.
Yeah.
But the executive committee and also the corporate social purpose working group has also decided that we will pull swag, or we will ask to pull swag. That's an email that I need to send out. It's going to go out next week to our council members, but obviously not like, it'll be in kind ask is what we're inquiring. So that sponsorship in that in kind way.
Awesome. All right. So the next thing that we have on the list here is that we wanted to promote the conference, and we wanted to promote the GVSA. And so there is a finite number right now of people who know what Volunteer Tennessee is, but then also who know about the conference and about the awards program. And throughout my network, and I'm sure out throughout you all's, people are finding out about it because you're talking about it, you're reposting, resharing, or whatever the case may be. But what we do want to do is make sure that we can get a bigger audience to see both of these events, because again, if we have generally roughly around 200 people who attend the conference, we would love to have more, and again, in the effort of encouraging volunteerism and supporting those who are working with our volunteers across the state. So and then with the GVSA, I think we have 93 counties in Tennessee, somewhere, something like that. And so what we want is to make sure that those representatives are there, the folks who are winning, that are adult and young people as volunteers, but we also have additional people who are there to celebrate them as well. So with that being said, we wanted to create 2 videos of this. And what I'm thinking now is, could we actually, I would think we might have to work with the communications committee to create some videos, because I would love to maybe do some interviews with some of our speakers as they are confirmed about the subjects or the topics that they're talking about. We do something similar with Tennessee Nonprofit Network, and it has been able to be kind of like these pre-production or pre-event videos that help promote the event as well. So if you can add, I guess, or make it, I don't know what this is as far as an ask, Latifah. Um, Maybe it is just a note to remind me and Nancy to follow up with or reach out to the communications team to see what they would suggest as far as doing a video or multiple videos. And also, it might not even be communications. It may just be working with Candace and Hope.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all think.
just while brains are turning from staff context, I know that obviously like capacity is tight. And
Yeah.
so I think it is a goal of ours as Volunteer Tennessee to see that our fabulous committee members are able to like get a couple of these products done with staff support, but a little bit more from at least from what we've seen. And
Right. Got it. So let's see. Because I'm trying to see how we produce it on our end. Maybe we can table this one for now, just around capacity, but keeping it in mind if there is an opportunity that does pop up, particularly if there is an in-kind sponsor that says I would do videos for you. Maybe that could be someone that would support and help them with that. And the way I see it, just as just for conversation's sake, I see it as just doing a Zoom video with a sponsor, or a Zoom video with a speaker or even a staff person talking about the impact and the benefit of both of these events, and then having someone then package it in a way that is just like basically taking that link, putting it on YouTube, and then being able to use that YouTube link on the website or on our Volunteer Tennessee social media. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds. I think we'll move forward with some of these other pieces that are more pressing, I think. And then that one is it's a nice thing to have, but it's not a must have at this point.
If I can just also add, Andrea, so actually I'm remembering, so Hope and I, we've all talked about this before in different ways, not for sponsors. And so definitely pinging you and Nancy, or definitely touching base with Hope and Candace, and then connecting back with you and Nancy so that way I can maybe share what they've already been thinking.
Gotcha. So let's see. And those two questions there were just the questions that we would probably ask within the video. So we can move to the next piece. So let me see the encouragement. So before we move to those though, I'm sorry. We can look at with the agenda, we can leave this up, but as the agenda, we have and Kim, you kind of led us into this conversation where we have the Corporate Social Purpose Network. So this has been a long time coming. It's and Latifah and Jim and the rest of the team have done a great job of pulling together really our initial framework for what this Corporate Social Purpose Network will look like. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many members we have right now, but there is kind of a two-tier of that process. There is an executive committee, and then there is just the general population or a grouping of corporate entities that are a part of this group. But the main purpose, initially this main purpose, and we have a meeting in September on the 23rd for those who are a part of this committee to be a part of, and actually just to start, I guess, really working out in more detail what we want or what they want this grouping or this network to look like. But kind of the initial thoughts are for us as the Strategic Partnerships Committee, we are the board liaison to this committee. So Nancy and I will be a part of this in some way, shape, or form, and then also bringing this information back to you all along again with Latifah and with Jim's support. But again, if you have not heard of this particular group, the main purpose of this group is, and I think Jim shared a little bit about it, is really to help these corporations really listen and hear from each other around best practices related to this corporate social responsibility or corporate social purpose environment. And so they may have volunteers, they may have giving programs, they may have all these different things, and they're new and they want to learn from who's doing the best so they can do theirs better. Or it could be someone who is a seasoned professional, has been doing this work for many years, and they are able to still learn something new from some of the others that are in this particular group. Some of the initial thoughts that we would love to see, or that I would love to see, and you all can share what your thoughts as well, but be around, one, this is a network, so they're able, again, to learn from each other Volunteer Tennessee, to some degree, will provide some education to them, some awareness around what's happening around the state. But there are potentially some deliverables that could come out of this group. Again, these are not set in stone yet. They're not what they're going to be doing. These are just some ideas of what they could do. One could be creating a toolkit for other corporate social purpose members across the state in their respective corporations, and then they have that as a tool. Another opportunity could be us doing, and we did this in the past, and again, I'm just giving examples, a statewide volunteer project. And those corporations bring their teams all together for this one day of service. And so then we can actually have this really big publicity or visibility project that has all of these folks from, again, various different corporations in being able to participate in creating this day of service and this day of empowerment for Tennessee. So again, those are just some ideas and some thoughts. But what I would love to hear from you all, as we still have maybe a few more minutes of this call, but just to hear you all share out just a little bit about maybe where do you see the role of this committee being, and how can we help support with the expanding of this network? And again, Kim, we know you've given some names, and you've been a part of a number of the meetings and also been an advisor to Lateefah. But definitely, if anyone else has any ideas or any thoughts, or want to know why, again, we have this group, here's your time to just kind of ask or throw out ideas or what you would like to see from this group, and we can then share that back with the actual group. And I know I did not explain that to the like in the most excellent way, but there are no questions. I think somebody was about to say something. Kim, was that you?
Yeah, well, I mean,
on,
loud
Kim.
women abhor a vacuum, Andrea knows where I'm coming from with that, don't you, dear? We can't let that sit like that. The only thing that I would add in terms of, what I've tried to think of this as since the honor of being appointed a commissioner is, how does this sit in context and in community with other things that I'm involved in? Because I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have in all of the great work that's being done in whatever sector you're in, is the dangers of doing it in a silo, and just how much less productive that is. So I think one of the things I'd really like to see this group explore is who else is doing what that connects with this, and where are some of those lever points and building some of those connections together. And I can give a specific example of that here. There's a group of community building organizations, really capacity builders, not client service delivery organizations. Groups like mine and Community Foundation and the Chamber of Commerce, those kind of folks. We're working together trying to identify where the skill gaps are for social sector leadership, because we have people that want to collaborate and want to do good work. And what we're hearing is the appetite's there, but the skills aren't there. I don't know how to facilitate. I don't know how to do conflict resolution, those kind of things. And I can't help but think that some of the things that Volunteer Tennessee does so well, that must create a place at that table, right? Because there's such great assets to bring to it. And then what would be the gift back from it? I just, I've decided as I get older, my biggest frustration is repetition of work, that as opposed to moving an issue forward. And I feel like that's a place that we could be helpful.
Awesome.
If I can.
I definitely agree. Anybody else want to share?
I agree with that. And I'm thinking of it in terms of what we have noticed on the plateau with our nonprofits, many of whom use AmeriCorps volunteers to help them move forward their initiatives. But there is a huge gap in experience and understanding of some things that could that Volunteer TN does very well and has connections with. And so I think that our partners here on the plateau would love to have the connections that this group has in order to help them develop their capacity as nonprofits working to improve life on the plateau. And they do this through, for example, volunteer recruitment itself is very difficult for these organizations, and they don't really know where or how to go about doing that. In the past, we've used the Center for Nonprofit Management to help us train up people on that, but it's expensive. And here we all are, that we could like partner together with our organizations that are supporting AmeriCorps, for example, and maybe provide some resources back to them as a part of that partnership with our organizations that have our AmeriCorps members.
Awesome. Agreed.
Can I provide a little bit of context for a couple of things that was said, Andrea? So for the connecting of different groups and parties, so Kim, I actually brought this up to our Volunteers Tennessee team, which is myself, Candace, and Jim, for the corporate social purpose work. And so we have talked about figuring out what even government agencies are potentially doing what and how we could partner with them in this work, but thinking to get the groundwork laid first for this group before reaching out to those parties. I do think my thought is that it's soon time to start reaching out to those parties, but that's something that we have to decide on internally. And then the interns, they are doing multiple projects. Of course, they're doing that interview series with the different CSR professionals, but something they're also looking into are the different organizations, just across the state and across the nation, to see who's doing similar work. Of course, we've already not crossed out, but we've already kind of gone through all the commissions that are like ourselves. And now we're looking at different entities, for-profit, nonprofit organizations that are trying to do this work. So we are trying to figure that out and have a pretty good database. Now we have a new set of interns that have come in, and now they're going to analyze that database. So that's their work this semester. Last semester was putting together database, and now they're going to analyze who's doing the work and how we need to reach out. There was something else that I'm forgetting, so I'll just pause on that. But
I think the other one was I think what I gathered from, and I don't know if this is the same thing you were thinking about, is maybe the corporate social responsibility group, corporate social purpose group, I'm sorry, could have a level of figuring out how to do outreach for other corporations at some point. I know we're not adding anybody to it, but they're just doing some type of outreach for adding new members at some point. What's that kind of onboarding time frame? But then also doing outreach for, if we put on as a corporate social purpose group a training, how do we reach out to other corporations that might benefit from that particular training? So maybe that could be something we talk about too on the 23rd. So I know we are at 2:49, and I think we got through kind of the half of it of the plan, but I think we do have some actionable steps that we can work on moving forward. If we can, we all can just make ourselves accountable to each other to make sure that we are going to be submitting these names, these contacts, any thoughts or guidance that we might have for the Volunteer Tennessee team, but also for the chairs, me and Nancy as well. I'm looking at the agenda, and I want to make sure that we did talk about our next piece would be assessing the committee's work. And so maybe doing some evaluations this year around our activities and our outcomes. If we can initially get those first two or three pieces that we talked about doing done, then we are not necessarily exceeding, but we're meeting some of our goals. And so I think let's try to work toward that. But we then also need to, and I want to ask you, Latifa, what did y'all mean about just the evaluations of our activities beyond what I was thinking of?
So I was actually, I know we had talked about this with Nancy, Andrea. If the committee could kind of well, one, I'm hoping that you all can present chat with the larger commission just about the corporate social purpose work that's happening to make sure it's on everyone's radar and they have a good understanding of it. And two, I was hoping that we could figure out a way to get it integrated into the state plan. Maybe that could be a goal for the next year or whenever that starts happening, because I want to make sure that there's like some sustainability and continuity, like for this, if I up and win the lottery tomorrow, like what will happen? Like, I want to make sure that it's something that Volunteer Tennessee is able to like continue to commit to and wants to commit to.
Mhm. Okay.
But that I think that's all. And then also just in general, like, because it does seem like I know Andrea and Nancy like referenced like definitely like becoming like the chairs, like not necessarily like jumping like voluntold. And so I think like
Right.
just assessing like what everybody wants to do in this group, like figuring out like what Katie said, I think that's a great idea, but I'm just like staff. So like I think the committee deciding like what are these great ideas and what actually can the committee do next year to go about supporting Volunteer Tennessee communities and
Yeah.
stuff.
So we can set that as like when we have our next meeting, we can talk about that, and spend a little bit more time on it and making sure that we can get to a place that is again actionable, and we can also kind of place some people by each of those tasks, the tasks for that project. I'm sorry. Um, Planning and setting goals for the committee. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to hold that for the next one because I think we have to do the ask for any public comments before we get off the call. If I hope that's correct. So
I
if
don't
we
think
can,
that's
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but so Andrea, we didn't receive any requests to make any public comment, and I don't believe
Awesome.
we have anybody
Awesome.
outside of Volunteer Tennessee on the
Great.
call anyway. So I think
Awesome.
we can.
See, I'm just trying to do right.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. But I think we can mark that one as done.
Oh, look, we got a goal met. No.
Oh no.
But we do want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to share out. So as far as like, I guess we can go over. Well, it's 7 minutes. Let me stop here because I know we talked about a lot of stuff, and I know we want to get some things done. We all are achievement focused and solution focused. But at this point, I want to make sure that just to do a little check in to see how everyone is feeling about this committee and at least the initial things that we've talked about so far and our engagement in it, our role in it. How do you all feel? Good, bad, hate it, whatever it is, let us know so we can help make the instructions clearer or make the process clear for each of our meetings.
I think in terms of getting ready for the February conference
Mhm.
and our work on that aspect, it seems to me like maybe I feel like I would need more meetings between now and then to
Okay.
really make some movement on that.
And thank you for that. So I think what and I would agree, being a roughly one person development team, I meet with myself on a daily basis. No, but I hear what you're saying. So I think if we can set up some meeting dates, but would it be helpful to potentially do our meetings are monthly, right, Latifa?
Yeah. With
Okay.
us.
Yes.
They
Um,
should be. They should be supposed to be following up.
ooh, ooh. Let's think about let you, me, and that Nancy think about what we could have as far as a frequency to talk about these sponsorships or how we might be able to share it out because it may be that we do meet monthly, but we also have this kind of an email meeting that talks about where we are, what's the status, hey, Andrea, you need to follow up with this person. It's on your list, and you haven't followed up with them
Mhm.
between now and November, or at least now in December. I would say that. But
Okay.
thanks for saying that, because I think that is a way for us to move forward faster.
I might recommend, or not recommend, but an idea. We have the corporate social purpose working group meetings. I think are scheduled for Mondays at 2 or 3 o'clock. I can't remember, but I could share that. And if someone wanted to join the working group, a part of talking about that is sponsorships, but obviously directly correlated with like corporate sponsorships. Though I guess
Mhm.
that's usually where sponsorships come from. But yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, it could be a grant. Well, some people.
Mm.
So let's do that. If we can, maybe in the next, when you do the recap, and I'm sorry, adding so much stuff to you. But
It's
if you
okay.
went in the recap, if you could put our those meeting dates, if they're already set, on the email or in the notes, and then we know that we need to schedule ours. So it'll be that meeting plus our actual regular strategic partnerships meeting.
Okay. That sounds good. Oh, would you mind if when you're done, Andrea, just like kind of quickly review what I'm supposed to do?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I know I'm
Now,
gonna.
you want to do that now?
No. When you're done.
No. I'm finished. No. I'm saying because I have a
Okay.
meeting at 3. But
Okay, I will be fast and quick. Just make sure. So follow up with Hope and Candace on conference awareness videos, assess what they're doing, and then follow up with you, Andrea and Nancy, to potentially connect with the communications group or just like next steps there. TBD. Follow up email, of course, to the strategic to this group. Including all the things we talked about, the Excel spreadsheet, the OneDrive link, which will house all of these things, the Excel spreadsheet, the template, the sponsorship package, and then I'll reference the working group meeting, which is not currently secured for recurring, but the next meeting is actually this upcoming Monday if somebody wants to
yeah,
attend with the latest of notice. And then I will confirm. So this next email will also include like a doodle poll for Q4 meeting. It's a little bit more difficult, I think, to identify times for multiple meetings, just based
yeah,
off of the software we have. But I'm sure there's a way to do it, but that's something I think we'll have to just back channel on and then come back.
yes.
Are those my only action items?
Let me make sure. Yes, I think that's it. And no, create the Excel sheet. But you said that, I think. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's it.
Okay,
That was a great recap. Thank you.
for sure. And I don't
Latifa,
want
what
to,
time is your Monday meeting?
that is at 2 p.m. I know you're Eastern, so 2
No,
Central.
we're central.
Oh, I always think y'all are Eastern. But yeah, then 2 o'clock. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to get involved with that.
Okay. Yeah. I will send that to you. I will send that to you. Yay. They'll be
Thank
excited to
you.
have you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm trying to find my mute button.
It's
I'm on the wrong
okay.
tab.
It's okay. I got you. I did it for you. See.
Well, does anybody have anything else that they'd like to share, or any other questions that you might have? So we'll get started. Latifa will, at her own pace, get these things done for us, and then we will. Our responsibility is just to make sure we start doing our reach outs for sponsorships, um, with the template that she'll provide to us. And thank you for volunteering to go to that meeting on Monday. I might be in that one, but it'll be on one screen, and I'll be in another meeting on another one.
Okay.
So if with all hearts and minds are clear, thank you all for being here today, and we will run through the remainder of this at our next meeting once we put out that doodle poll to see when you all can meet.
That's good.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Here.